Welcome, dear reader. Today, we will take a journey through a story that will touch your heart, make you feel the ache of loss, the sting of failure, and the warmth of hope. It is about a man who slept in his car, broken by life, but rose again to own a mansion. This story teaches us that no matter how dark life gets, the smallest spark of hope can light the way. Imagine holding on to a dream when the world has turned its back on you. This is not just a story of success. It's a story of survival, courage, and the belief that even after the deepest heartbreak, life can bloom again. His name was Michael Thompson. He wasn't always a man with nothing. Once, he had a family, a job, and dreams bigger than the sky. But life has a way of testing the strongest hearts. Michael grew up in Ohio, in a small town where everyone knew each other's names. His childhood was filled with laughter, summer evenings chasing fireflies, and the warm arms of his mother, Linda. She was his hero, his safe place. But life changed when Michael was just 16. His father, who had struggled with alcohol, left the family. It broke Michael's heart, but his mother held the family together like glue. Years passed. Michael graduated from high school with big dreams. He wanted to start his own business, to make his mother proud. He moved to Chicago, got a job at a small tech company, and slowly built a life. He even fell in love with a girl named Emily, whose smile could light up the darkest room. Life seemed perfect, but life is not always kind. It started with a phone call on a rainy Tuesday. His mother had collapsed at work. By the time Michael rushed back to Ohio, it was too late. She had passed away from a sudden heart attack. Michael stood at her funeral, the rain mixing with his tears. He felt hollow, as if life had been drained from him. There were so many things he never got to say. I love you. Thank you for everything. I'm sorry I wasn't there. Guilt sat heavy on his chest. After his mother's death, Michael was never the same. Grief is a strange thing. It sneaks into your heart, makes you feel lost even when you're surrounded by people. Michael pulled away from Emily, from his friends, from everything. He thought he could drown his pain in work, but grief doesn't disappear. It waits in the quiet moments. One day, he came home to an empty apartment. Emily had left. She couldn't watch him fade into someone she no longer recognized. She left a note. I love you, but I can't save you from yourself. Michael read that note over and over, his tears blurring the ink. He realized he had lost the two people who loved him the most. Things spiraled quickly. Michael lost focus at work, made mistakes, and soon lost his job. With no income, he couldn't pay rent. He sold his furniture, then his TV, then everything he owned until all he had left was his car, a beat-up old Toyota Corolla. And that's where he lived. Sleeping in a car is nothing like sleeping in a bed. The seat never feels right, and the Nights are cold, even in summer. Michael parked in quiet streets, hiding from the world. He felt invisible, as if he didn't exist. On some nights, he would stare at the ceiling of his car, whispering to the darkness, "Is this it? Is this my life now?" But life has a funny way of giving us signs, even when we're not looking. One morning, Michael woke up to the sound of knocking. A man named Mr. Harris, who ran a small cafe nearby, had noticed Michael sleeping in his car for weeks. He didn't ask many questions. Instead, he offered Michael a cup of coffee and a part-time job washing dishes. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Michael took the job. For the first time in months, he had somewhere to go, even if it was just to scrub plates. The warmth of routine began to heal the cracks inside him. Mr. Harris didn't just give him a job, he gave him hope. He'd say, "It's not about where you are now, Michael. It's about where you're going." Those words stuck with him. With the little money he earned, Michael rented a small room. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't even an apartment. But it was a step up from his car. At night, he'd sit by the window staring at the city lights, wondering if his mother would be proud of him. That's when he remembered his dream of starting a business. Michael had always been good with computers. He decided to take a chance. Using the cafe's free Wi-Fi after hours, he taught himself coding through free online courses. It wasn't easy. He failed many times, his laptop freezing just as he finished projects. But failure didn't scare him anymore. He had already faced the worst. After months of hard work, he built a small website design business. At first, he had no clients. Rejection emails piled up like bricks, but he kept going. Every no brought him closer to a yes, and one day, it happened. A small bakery needed a website. Michael charged them $200. It wasn't much, but it felt like $1 million to him. That first client led to another, then another. Slowly, his business grew. Years passed. Michael's hard work paid off. He didn't just have a business, he had a company. He hired people, opened an office, and built something beautiful from the ashes of his past. Eventually, he bought a house. Not just any house, a mansion on the edge of the city, with tall windows and rooms filled with light. But when he walked through those doors for the first time, he didn't feel like celebrating. Instead, he sat on the floor and cried. Not because he was sad, but because he remembered the boy who once slept in a car, lost and broken. Michael's mansion wasn't just made of bricks and glass. It was made of memories, of loss, of nights spent crying, of small acts of kindness, of hope that refused to die. He hung his mother's photo in the living room. He whispered, "I made it, Mom." And he knew she heard him. This story is not just about Michael. It's about all of us. We all face moments when life feels too heavy, when dreams seem too far. But Michael's story reminds us that even in the darkest nights, a small spark of hope can light the way. So if you're struggling, remember this. Your story isn't over yet. Keep going. The mansion of your dreams might be just around the corner.